Hey guys, it's Shelby, and today we're going to be making a video that I am very excited about because these are some of my favorite videos to make. I'm about to say, if you don't know, of course you know, we are headed into the holiday season, which is one of the most tragic times for the environment, honestly. If you didn't know, during the holiday season, just in the US, our trash, the amount of it that goes to landfill is increased by 25%. Yeah, that's how much the waste increases around this area during the holiday season. But aside from the waste that we see, the waste that we are sending to landfill that is increasing, it's also increasing a lot because there are a ton of more products being created, manufactured, bought, unwanted things being purchased. Actually, I read a number that said that like a huge amount of presents that are bought for people are not wanted, are not used, or are given away or thrown away. The reason I make videos like this as an environmentalist is because every single thing we purchase has a footprint on the environment. And so it's really important that when we are going to purchase something that we've really thought through it, because everything we're buying has a resource footprint. And I personally think that one of the ways that we can reduce our footprint on the environment the most is by purchasing less things. So with all of that in mind, I thought let's create a video that talks about consumer habits you should break so that hopefully you can get yourself in the right mindset as the holidays are quickly approaching us. I am not what we would say abstinent from buying Christmas presents or buying anything around this time of year. I do definitely participate in the holiday season. For me, that is Christmas. I buy my friends and family things and vice versa, but I always try to make sure that each of those purchases are very, very thought through and not just meaningless, thoughtless, wasteful. And in today's video, I'm going to give you some examples of the things that I don't do essentially and things that you should be avoiding. But before we get into that really quickly, I want to give a huge thank you to Skillshare for partnering with me on this video. If you guys don't know what Skillshare is, they're an online learning platform with over 30,000 courses. So you can learn virtually like literally anything you would like. Right now, I'm personally taking a course by Christopher Griffin because I follow him on Instagram. And then when I saw that he was on Skillshare, I was like, yes, please. So I'll talk more about his course later on in the video. But if you want to sign up for Skillshare right now, you can go to the link in the description. It's a great deal for all the knowledge that you could use, which is what we're going to get into today. Learning about some consumer habits you should avoid. All the things I'm going to be talking about today are things that I'm guilty of, the things that I've done and learned from. So do it that way you will. All right, let's get into it. First consumerism habit that you should break, avoid, all those sort of things is shopping because you're bored. When I was still what I refer to as a hyper consumer, shopping was not only something I did when I was bored, but it was something I did for entertainment, something that I did for fun. It was my hobby, it was my exercise. Yeah, I guess people say this, people literally say this. I used to literally say this. But shopping when you're bored is definitely not a recipe for a good thing. It's typically a recipe for having what we call a budget hangover afterwards and spending money on something that you probably will regret later. This applies to online and in-store shopping. Obviously right now, we're probably shopping in stores less, and so online shopping is picking up more. But either way, just don't shop when you're bored, okay? Number one and number two are very similar, but it is using shopping as your hobby, as your pastime. Just shifting your thought process from shopping being something you're just going to do for the sake of doing it is definitely something we need to break in American culture specifically and all around the world as well. This next one is really, really key, probably one of the most difficult habits to break, but it is shopping when you're having a bad day, when you're feeling sad, when you're, just not in the best headspace. There's plenty of research and studies out there to show that when we shop, there is a literal dopamine release that happens in our brain when we purchase something new. And so it can be really easy when you're feeling down to just think,
oh, I'll go to Target and surf the aisles because Lord knows Target has plenty of cute things.
For a lot of people, that is a temporary solution. But in honor of helping the planet and in honor of taking care of our mental health in the long term instead of just the short term, finding different ways to make yourself feel better when you're having a bad day is definitely a more sustainable option in terms of the planet and also in terms of our mental health. This habit for me took a lot of time and effort and energy and attendance, but once I did, I feel so much better about myself, and also my budget, my bank account feels so much better when I'm having a bad day. And also I've learned to learn ways to make myself feel better that are more streamlined, steady baseline of happiness, as opposed to let me have a bad day, go buy something, feel bad about buying something, have a bad day, go buy something, and investing the time and energy to figure out ways to cope with bad days other than shopping is definitely going to be better for everyone involved. Signing up for brand emails. This is such a trap, you guys. When you go to a merchant's website, whether they're sustainable or they're not, they're going to want to get you on their email list. This typically comes in the form of 10% off or free shipping. Also, a lot of times they make the little exit button to just make it go away really difficult to find. Now that brand has access to something that you probably check every single day. You are constantly being advertised to, enticed to buy things, seeing things that are new that you literally probably would have never even knew existed, let alone that you wanted or needed. It is a definite way of manipulating people in some ways into buying things. There are some solutions here if you do think you want to take advantage of the free shipping or 10% off for a purchase you've thought through. Get a separate email that you don't check every day, that maybe you check when you're going to buy something to see if you have an offer for a discount or something like that. So definitely avoid that. I avoid them at all costs. That is my recommendation to you as well. Following brands on social media. I do follow a handful of brands that I truly love and trust and adore on Instagram, but I will say that this is because I have gotten very, very good at talking myself out of buying things for people who are maybe not in the same headspace as me, are still on their journey, or maybe even you don't have this huge opposition to shopping, but you're constantly being marketed to because you're following the brands on social media. That is a consumer habit I would definitely recommend just breaking. I will say there are some brands out there who offer value outside of just the products that they're selling. They'll share information, they'll share tips and resources and all those sort of things, but you need to be more selective and careful and conscious about who you're following on social media in general, let alone following brands that are marketing to you for free, essentially. When something breaks, we should be thinking about other things we can use to replace it that we already own. When something breaks, we should think about how we can repair it. When something breaks, maybe question if you even need that item at all. And if it breaks and you do absolutely need to replace it, always check secondhand first. But the habit here in and of itself is the second something breaks, you repurchase it without thinking of any other alternatives. I put this in here as a consumerism habit we need to break because in today's society, there is something that a lot of you know I refer to as often as I can called planned obsolescence. Planned obsolescence is something that brands took on a while ago. There's a lot of documentation of this, but that basically helps them make more money by creating products that are meant to fail in just enough time to let you think that it's okay to repurchase it when it breaks. For instance, vacuum cleaners, microwaves, same way. We had an issue with our microwave a couple months ago, and because I have broken that consumer habit, it turns out that we just needed to replace the plug behind the microwave, but everyone I talked to told me to throw that microwave away and buy a new one. And because I've broken that habit, I did not throw away my microwave. I did not have to purchase a new one. And therefore, my pockets and the planet were saved by me breaking this consumer habit. And so I'm always encouraging everyone to break this consumer habit as well. Buying something that you're not planning to use long term, that you won't get a lot of use out of, that is not really adding value to your life is something that has become quite normalized in today's society. With the start of infomercials, I think is where this particularly started because they were these gadgets and things that were very interesting that people wanted to purchase because they looked enticing, but they didn't think through this thought of how often will I use that thing, and after I use it a time or two, will it be something I continue to use because it adds value to my life, or will it sit in a drawer somewhere collecting dust? It's time to start asking the questions that we're going to get to very soon to determine if something is actually going to add value to your life and determine if it's actually worth spending your money on, and therefore using the resources to create and creating a demand for that product to exist. Similar to the last one, this one is buying something because it is an easy fix to a problem, but maybe you don't need it after you use it to fix that problem. Quick example here, whenever we were putting up the arch that is in my backyard, it's the archway that our garden grows up, we had to pound some T-posts into the ground. And so in order to do that, we thought, oh, we'll just use our mallet. Well, it tore our mallet up. The natural next solution is we need a post hole driver. But literally that's one of those items that is an easy fix to the problem at hand, but am I going to literally use it afterwards? Probably not. I don't want to be any closer to it. I feel like this is an injury waiting to happen. Oh my God, oh my God. But the problem here is purchasing something just because it is an easy solution. This habit has been very encouraged by brands and companies that you've probably seen to lessen the friction for you to buy something. And so because brands have been making it easier and easier for you to click 2 buttons and get something to your house, you have to put your own speed bumps in place. So for instance, I have a 14-day waiting period before I buy virtually anything, including anything secondhand. I let myself wait it out and determine if I actually need it, and if it doesn't fall into all of the other categories that we already talked about. Giving yourself time to think and not just having a knee-jerk reaction for that dopamine release is a very helpful thing to implement for the habit that you need to break of just clicking one thing and letting it arrive to your house. Being in the habit of not asking yourself these questions is a habit in and of itself that you have to change. So there are a few questions I highly encourage you to ask yourself before you purchase anything, and by doing so, I guarantee you, you will be buying a lot less things. First question is, do I need this? Keyword there being need. Can I borrow it? Can I make this myself? How was it made? What resources, what pollution, was it made ethically, etc.? Where will I store it? That has been the question that has stopped me from buying so many things over the last few years is, once I use this thing, where the hell is it gonna go? Is it gonna be sitting out on a shelf and I'm not going to like the way it looks sitting out? That has stopped me from buying so many things. What will happen to it when I'm done with it? So that focuses on the end of a product's life cycle. You buy something, maybe you got good use out of it, but once you're done with it, can it be recycled? Can it be resold? Can it be reused? Etc. Not having a set of questions you ask yourself before you buy something definitely makes it a lot easier to hit the one-click buy, but once you take a moment to ask yourself all of these things, probably going to buy a lot less. These are not habits, but they are mistakes, and they are two kind of one and the same, and they are not having a budget and not having an emergency fund. So I could swear to you up and down that by living on a budget, if you have a tighter income, it is incredibly helpful in stopping what I call the scarcity mindset. It's not just what I call, I think a lot of people refer to it this way. But I strongly believe in removing a scarcity mindset from the way you go about finances, and that really helping the way that you shop, purchase things, consume. Same thing with my emergency fund. Basically, when I was in college and I was completely broke, I had debt, I had no money, you know, all that sort of thing. I remember every single time I would get money, which was what, like $200 a week from the job I was working, I would spend it almost instantaneously. It was this constant cycle of, I don't have money, I want money, I spent it. I want money, I don't have money, I spent it. And once I got out of college, I first paid off all of my debt. That was very important to me. But aside from paying off all of my debt, another really important part for me spending less was creating an emergency fund. And I truly believe that my emergency fund helped me more than like anything else in stopping buying things. My emergency fund removed my scarcity mindset, and I literally felt no need to buy things I didn't need anymore. So I went from not having money, yet spending all of it very quickly, to actually making, I'm not gonna say decent money, I didn't make great money when I worked for the state, but having a normal adult income sort of thing, and not feeling the need to spend any of it. The scarcity mindset is what I truly believe was removed, and the reason that I was then able to take a step back and realize what I did and didn't need, and my emergency fund made a big deal. So if you don't know what an emergency fund is, I probably should have said this way before now, but if you don't know what an emergency fund is, it's basically where you set aside 3 to 6 months of all of your bills, put it in a savings account, and you do not touch it unless it is an absolute emergency. I'm not very good with finances. I never have been. They make me anxious. But one thing that I am really good at and I stand by is that an emergency fund is incredibly helpful in so many different ways, and I highly encourage everyone to have one. I hope you learned a lot about what consumer habits you could be working to break, but the education does not stop here because this video, like I said, is brought to you by Skillshare. So let's talk a little bit more about the course I'm taking over there and the plethora of courses that they have, which you can get for free. Don't forget, the link is in the description.
So I am currently taking this Skillshare course by Christopher Griffin, who I first found on Instagram, and his vibe was just so amazing that when I saw he had a Skillshare course, it was a no-brainer. If you watch this channel, it is no secret that I freaking love plants, and there's a course on Skillshare for everyone and everything that you love. So whether you're looking to fend off boredom, focus on self-care through creativity, or join a similarly creative community, Skillshare is the place for you to keep learning. And like I said, the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description will get 1 month free to Skillshare's premium membership. So definitely check them out. It's a really awesome resource to have during this time where many of us are spending a lot more time inside, and I highly, highly recommend it. Let me know what courses you're loving in the comments, and remember, until next time, you cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do. Bye, guys.